last year when the offense was still rolling, but this is something like we haven't seen.
I think it's just having another year of just trying to master this thing. Comfortability, we only have one guy that came into our system that hasn't been here, wasn't here last year, and just having another year of reps, another year of understanding what Coach McVay wants, and just being more efficient with it. I think that's a big part of it.
I tell you what, Todd, so many comparisons to the greatest show on turf, and you looked every bit of it tonight. But one thing I remember about that group was every week it was like somebody else took their turn, and all of our superstars were excited for the other guys. I get the sense that you guys are like that in the locker room as well.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. You know, I told Cooks this was going to be his week. You know, he got him a touchdown. I told Cup don't come back to the locker room unless he have 100 yards, and he did that. So, hey, man, we put the pressure on each other. We know what everybody's capable of, and we got great players on our team. Everybody's going to ball out when they get that chance, and that's what we did tonight.
Do you guys feel like you can be beat at this point in time with the way your offense is rolling?
Any team can be beat, but, nah, we can't be beat right now.
Wow.
I like it. I like it.
The Rams are 4-0.
Big time, Kay, and they were balling out there.
All right, we're looking at their next 7 games before the bye. Yeah. We'll get to that. We're going to celebrate and revel in this win because we got Rams fans coast to coast waking up on the West Coast mostly after this sterling 4-0 start. To what do we attribute this? I'm going to go with Jared Goff, just straight up. And you can say what you want about his numbers, about the system that he's in, about having Todd Gurley, about having the brilliance of Sean McVay, but I don't know that many other quarterbacks can make those throws. He's out there buckets. He's like me at a Papa-Shot machine.
Can't miss lefty.
He can't miss it. He's hitting everybody. He has 3 wide receivers who are just constantly making plays. For me, the fact that he had a perfect passer rating, 158.3, that does not happen. And if it does happen, Kyle, it's when you dink and you dunk.
Easy.
And you play it safe. Look at this. He's taking shots downfield, connecting perfectly, placing it in a place where it doesn't matter how well the Vikings defense did play. If they were at full capacity, they could not stop what he's doing. I also want to credit Aaron Cromer, the O-line coach, Blythe, Witt, Saffold, Havenstein. We see you. Sullivan. Can't forget Sullivan, Peter.
Yeah, John Sullivan.
I hear you on that.
And this team is so good. And with Goff, what's so amazing, Kay, is that, Cousins comes in here. Everyone talks about McVay and Cousins. Cousins played amazing last night. He really did. Goff was better. And if you're Sean McVay saying, okay, I love Kirk Cousins as my old quarterback, and he's on the other side of the field, I'm happy for him to have the... But I got my guy, and I feel really good we're on that. Jared Goff was awesome last night.
Yeah, and if you want to call Jared Goff a nickel and dimer, there was more loose change on that field than a coin star. They were doing the thing. But, you mentioned Jared Goff and him possibly starting an MVP campaign. I'm looking at Sean McVay. And last year, for what it's worth, I don't want to discredit him being coach of the year, but, he was young. He was the Doogie Howser of football, and he just caught everybody by surprise. And then he went out there and started punching teams in the mouth, and you had to credit him as coach of the year. Now, the novelty of him being young, it's over. He's going out there as one of the more respected coaches, and he is beating up on teams. So I mentioned earlier what they do for their quarterback. If you're Jared Goff and you're sitting there and you're looking at defenses and you got Cook flying behind you and you got Todd Gurley going the opposite direction, you got your wide receivers running routes, that puts the QB in a great position because he's recognizing the linebacker, he's recognizing the safety and the corners, and now when they move, he knows, okay, now it's man, I know exactly where to go. If they don't move, it's like, oh, it's zone, I know where to go. Let me turn that camera around. If you're a linebacker, if you're a safety, and you're watching this team, and you're looking at Jared Goff, and you're making the reads, all right, guys, we got strong formation over here, wide receivers over here, you got Goff, and then you see a guy running 4-3 come across the field. That's Cooks. And then you see Gurley flare out the opposite side. A fake here, a fake there, and you're like, what are you going to do? All the while, you got 4 guys running routes behind you. That's the difficulty. That's what these guys are seeing every single game. The days of traditional offenses where a guy can sit back as a linebacker and peep a defense and say, I see this formation. I know where this is going because of all of the film I watch. You almost got to throw that out when you play the Rams.
Anthony Barr's seen a lot of offenses, right?
He's seen a lot of offenses.
A lot of film.
He hasn't seen anything like this, and that was why he was exposed yesterday, and defenses are getting exposed.
I have a really cool list here. I had research look into this. You got to hear this list. Quarterbacks who have had 3 straight games of 350 yards and 75% completion. All right, you got to hear this list. You know who's on this list after Jared Goff? Nobody! Just playing, there ain't no list. He's the first guy to ever do it. Warren Moon, Jim Kelly, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady's. Nobody has ever done it. What a spectacle. You know, last Thursday with the Baker game, we've been saying it kind of felt like a dream. Like Cleveland was winning and Baker was in. Last night felt like a dream, too. It was bizarre. L.A. was like the centerpiece of football. The Coliseum was packed, the uniforms. I feel like there's something bigger there. Peter, you were talking about LeBron's going to start playing with the Lakers. I think this is the show. And this is going to go on for a decade. The stadium is coming. The players aren't leaving. YG is coming. I feel like that was the first step in about 50 steps.
To Kyle's point, I'm going to give credit to the construction of this team.
Okay.
All right. You can look at these coaches and the players, and it's all good. Guys, let me go through the list here. Jared Goff is 23 years old, and his contract is through 2021. Okay. Brandon Cooks is 25 years old. They re-extended him. He's 2023. Then you got Kupp is 25 years old till 2020. Todd Gurley's 24 years old. They signed to an extension. He's there till 2024. This team is not going anywhere. They opened the new stadium in 2020. Like, this thing is built to last. And everyone said, well, they've got this one-year window. No. Sue and Donald and all those guys, that's fine. We got in some guys. But the core of the offense, what really matters, is extended a long time. So for that, this is interesting who I'm going to give credit to here. Yeah, it's McVay, and it's Les Snead, and it's Tony Pastores, and Kevin Demoff. How about Jeff Fisher, who drafted a few of these guys and said, you know what, I'll take Todd Gurley in the first round. I will take Jared Goff.
People are crapping on Jeff Fisher
People crap on Jeff.
In a big way, yeah.
Jeff Fisher drafted a lot of these guys. Guess who drafted guess who drafted Aaron Donald? Jeff Fisher. Jeff Fisher's part of this, and they're built to last. And now you go from there, and McVay takes this raw product, molds it a little bit, and they can really fly. This team is built to last. They are so young, so good, and the coach is the face of it. But I got to say, that entire front office and the guys who were there before them, they get some credit too.
Are you guys worried about the defense at all? I want to pull up these games again, their schedule up ahead, because, I mean, they're 4-0, they're undefeated. So you have to think, are they unbeatable? Taking a look at this, I feel like you're going to have to outscore them. If you put them against the best defenses in the league, they're going to go take on the Broncos in Denver. It's not as scary as a potent offense. And you see the Chiefs there, but how about those Saints week 9 playing at home, Drew Brees in his element? I feel like it's impossible to stop the Rams, but with the defense and how it sort of looked last night, I know they were down Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters, barely a factor, obviously. You're going to have to light them up, and I feel like the Saints will have something in store for them.
So true. I'm trying so hard to be measured. Because it's very easy to just be like, I think 15-1.
Yeah.
I did 15-1, and they could be. But we've seen this before, and I brought up the example. Everyone said the same about the 99 Rams, and then in the middle of the season, they just lost back-to-back games. I can't do it, though. I look at them, and I don't know how they're going to be stopped. Now, the Peters Talib thing, that was a little bit of fly in the ointment. There was a little bit of a record scratch. But when you bring up that schedule, Kay, I'm not really worried about anything.
Stop them, but you can outscore them. You don't think so? You don't think any of those teams on that list can outscore
Yes, I do.
them?
And I think one of them will attempt to do it south of the border, and I'm talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. They have the firepower. Because we saw the Vikings. We had defense. We got D linemen. We got linebackers. They could do squat. As good as the Vikings played last night, I don't think there was really a 5-minute period where I think the Vikings can win this game. Even when they were up, I don't think they can stop the Rams. So you might have to outscore them, and that points to Mahomes.
Psychological edge thing is always interesting to me. So, like, the Eagles won the Super Bowl, right? They're the defending champions. They play the Eagles down the road. To me, that's the edge. Like, who's going to look at McVay in the eye and say, like, well, we've got a bigger thing going here than you do? And I think the Eagles are that team. And just the fact that we've been there before, we've gone on the road, we've won big games, we've done it all, and we've hoisted a Lombardi. Sean McVay, you've never won a playoff game before. We have won a Super Bowl. So for me, the Eagles are still that team that you go and you face the Rams and Eagles. The Eagles can still walk in there with the belt and say, who are you? Get out of here. Regular season, what?
Yeah, when it comes to scoring offenses like this, I mean, last year they averaged 29.9, almost 30 points a game. Number one offense this year, I believe they're in the 30s. So defensively, all they have to do is hold teams to 30 and under, and they're good enough to pitch a shutout. That's how strong this defense is. But to Kyle's point earlier in the show, he said if you're going to beat Jared Goff in the Rams, you're going to have to hit Jared Goff in the Rams. You got to be physical with Jared Goff in the Rams. You know, we all love 90s NBA. And when you saw great scores come into the league, I remember Allen Iverson. He was torching dudes. And then they decided, let's be physical with this.
You got to put him on the floor.
You got to put him on the floor. You got to throw an elbow in the chest, and you got to make sure that they understand you're not going to be flying around in this very finesse-style offense. Not calling the team finesse, very finesse-style offense for 4 quarters. You got to put somebody on their butt and be more physical than his team. Who's going to do that? I don't know. But I do agree with you with KC. I feel like they could put up points with them.
And maybe the Broncos, speaking of, putting him down, you have to put him down lightly, as we said, talking roughing the passer penalties and such. And for that, let's bring in our guy, Ian Rappaport. At Rap Sheet, because the perfect segue by Nate Burleson there. Yesterday, the NFL reportedly issued a clarification, right, on what is roughing the passer. So take us through the latest with that rule.
It was the long-awaited explanation from the NFL, what they were going to do with all of these roughing the passer penalties we've seen over the first 3 weeks, something that has put Clay Matthews very much at the forefront with a couple of his questionable penalties. And the competition committee has been getting together, had a call just a couple days ago, to figure out which way they were going to go. And what they came out with was Not much. Basically, the rule is not going to change. There's going to be nothing drastic. What they did aim for was consistency and clarity, and they actually released a video yesterday with 4 examples of things that are good as far as hitting the quarterback and things that are bad. And the main difference between all of these things is how the defensive player actually lands on the quarterback. In the 4 examples that were okay, that were not flag or fine worthy, the defender did not allow his body weight to land full force on a quarterback. Instead, he attempted to get to the side. In the 4 examples that were bad, you saw a defender landing exactly on the quarterback, or sort of the Superman technique where your arms are out and you just basically fly into him. That is what we learned yesterday, that if a defender attempts to get his body to the side of a quarterback, it is not going to be a flag. But if you were expecting a major rule change, you did not get it.
Can't hit these pro quarterbacks. I guess you got a Superman that pro. All right, Ian, so yesterday the Panthers, they announced signing of safety Eric Reid, in my opinion, long overdue. What can you tell us about how Reid will fit in with Carolina?
Well, first of all, as far as the contract goes, it's a 1-year deal worth a maximum of $1.9 million, so not a huge investment for the Carolina Panthers, especially when you consider there's been such a depressed safety market. But Eric Reid is not just a regular safety. Of course, he was the best free agent available, and that's what General Manager Marty Herney told me yesterday. A football decision, basically a no-brainer to go out and just sign a run-stuffing, playmaking, physical safety, the kind you can never find in the street during September. But of course, Eric Reid had gained so much publicity, notoriety, fame, whatever you want to say, about his actions kneeling during the national anthem, his very vocal support of former teammate Colin Kaepernick. That is something that did not play into it at all. In fact, the Carolina Panthers, Nate, did not even ask Eric Reid if he is going to kneel during the national anthem. I should also mention that his role in the collusion lawsuit against the NFL remains unchanged. This was simply a football decision, but the kind of football decision Jerry Richardson never would have made.
Appreciate the update from you, Ian Rappaport. We'll talk to you throughout the weekend leading up to a full Sunday slate of action. 2 teams on a bye, but a classic AFC rivalry taking center stage on Thursday night. It is Andrew Luck and the Colts taking on Tom Brady and the Patriots. Ooh, this is a spicy one.
Zoo!
Yeah. Where does that come from?
Oh, of course. I had the soldier.
Got to crank that.
2009.
Colts, Patriots, when it's on.
It's on! Zoo!
Sunday night football.